Hey, it's Jeff Barnes, Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions podcast. There we go. I got it the third time. So what's going on today? Hey, I want to talk to you guys today about the speed of trust, right? And we have a lot of people that are watching this podcast, putting comments out there, letting us know that, hey, I'm a capital raiser. Can you help me? And I know there's a lot of people watching this that are investors, business owners already as well. We're trying to bring the value for you guys as well. So if you're watching this and you're a business owner, you're an investor, hopefully you get some great stuff. Now, listen, I'm a former sailor. We changed the whole format of our podcast a while ago because I got really tired of interviewing people and not really getting to say the things that I wanted to say. And nothing against any of the people that we were interviewing. They're great, amazing interviews. But I always have to kind of tone down my responses to folks. Okay. And if you're one of those folks that was, being interviewed on here, just realize that we had a great conversation. I loved it. Just sometimes instead of me interjecting, some of the thoughts I had to just kind of let everybody go. And that's fine. Everybody has their opinions, their thoughts, and these are successful people. I don't interview people that are not successful, which is really nice. However, over time, you start to realize that a lot of the advice people are getting is so watered down. And what do I mean by that? I mean, for whatever reason, we're all really afraid of offending people. And I know this was me for a long time, like really afraid to hurt anybody's feelings, to offend people, because I was really good at it. Like, I'll just be completely honest. I was really good at offending people early on in life. Like, I remember all the way back to third grade, the racial slurs going back and forth from my buddies and I, not just from me to other people, from them to us too, right? Our Asian buddy calling us round eyes. It was hilarious. Fuck you, round eye. It's hilarious. And I'm sorry, if you get offended by some of these things, then you obviously don't have a sense of humor. Okay. That's the way I look at a lot of stuff, is that, if you are intentionally being a dick to somebody, and it's not because there's love behind that and support, or because you're really trying to like, I was in boot camp and getting just screamed at and yelled at. I was in diet school, screamed at and yelled at. And of course they're demeaning you, but it's because you're not doing your job. It's being an idiot. I wasn't getting the done the right way. They had to get something in through. And I realize women are different than guys. Women are way meaner. But for guys, sometimes we just have to yell and scream and beat it into, like physically beat it into sometimes. Work your body down to the point where you cannot resist anymore, and you will just do whatever the hell you have to do, just to overcome. Like, if you've ever seen the movie Cool Hand Luke, amazing movie. If you've never heard of it, if you've never heard of Paul Newman, shame on you, or you're just way too young. You got to go back and watch this. And there's a scene in this movie, and Paul Newman's, the premise, he's in prison for doing something which I still don't entirely understand. I know why they arrested him, but there's a lot deeper meaning behind it, and unpacking that, I'm not going to do that right now. But he's in prison, and it's a working prison, right? They're going to put you to work. Well, he doesn't like following the rules. Guess what? I don't like following the rules either. A lot of guys don't like following the rules. And the warden's like, you know what? We're going to make you follow the rules. We're going to figure this shit out. So what are we going to do? We're going to break you. We're going to break you physically. We're going to break you mentally. We're going to break you spiritually. We are going to break you to the point where you will finally do what we want you to do. Now, like it or love it or hate it, doesn't really matter. That was the reality. And so there's a scene. He has to dig a hole, and then he has to dig another hole, and he has to dig another hole, and he has to move the rocks, and everybody's getting mad at him. He's like, finally, he just breaks. He's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. Right? And so the moral of the story is that everybody has to have things beat into them a little bit in different ways. Guys are, stubborn, dumber sometimes. And so as a result, we have to do this shit over and over and over again before we finally get it and before we finally get the lesson. Women are very different, but they get the lessons in different ways. It's emotional and it's feelings, and there's all these different things that happen to them, but they also pick things up a lot faster than guys do. Like, we are just oblivious to so many things in life. So that's why it takes us a lot longer to figure out certain lessons. Okay. So with all that being said, why am I talking about all this stuff? Why am I talking about beating lessons into all these things? It's because people haven't learned these simple lessons in life. And these simple lessons take you a really long way to achieving what you want to achieve in life. And one of them is trust. Learning how to get people to trust you, to believe you. And not like the superficial kind, like I'm a snake oil salesman up on a stage and I'm selling you something that I already like this. Honestly, this is why I really struggle with sales, is because I actually want you to use the that I sell you. And if I already know you're not going to, or you're not smart enough. Hate to say it, but a lot of people are just not fucking smart enough to do the shit that I tell them to do. Or you don't have the resources, you don't have the team, you don't have the money. You're not going to be able to do the shit I tell you to do. Like I coach businesses all day long, marketing, capital raising, business growth, leadership, different things, just because I've been around for a long fucking time. And when I coach people, I already know they're not going to do this shit. Well, guess what? I self-sabotage in that moment and I don't even try to sell them because I already know you're not going to fucking do the thing. You will not do the thing that I need you to do to be successful. I do not want to waste my time because I want you to be successful. And because I want you to be successful, and because I also know you won't do it, I am not willing to try and sell you and hear you complain 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years later that you didn't figure this shit out. And as a result, you are upset with me because you couldn't fucking do the things I told you to do. All right. I don't want to deal with that. That's kind of obnoxious. All right. So with that being said, going back to this, the speed of trust situation, like if somebody trusts you and they really, like, I mean, really trust you, then they can be vulnerable with you. You can be vulnerable with them and things will happen quickly and without a lot of friction, but it all comes down to trust. Okay. And I can relate this to a few different things that I've gone through and done recently, right? Um, when it comes to raising capital, trust is the most important thing. Okay. When it comes to investing, trust is the most important thing. I've raised $1 million in 90 minutes from people I did not know before having dinner with them that evening. It, and I know I can do that because I know how to build trust and I know how to showcase credibility as well. Again, on previous episodes, I talked about the fact that so many people are not willing to put in the work. And because they're not willing to put in the work, it shows, right? In energy and body language and how you talk and how you show up. It all shows. And we know, those of us that have been around the block, we know when somebody's fucking inexperienced. When all they're doing is memorizing and regurgitating some shit they heard on a podcast, reading a book. If you fucking do that anymore, I don't know. Do people read books? I do. Definitely should be doing that. But when somebody's just memorizing, regurgitating, it's kind of like sixth grade or high school or whatever. You're like, oh, I'm just cramming as much shit as I can into my fucking brain so I can pass the test and then brain dump, right? Guess what? That's not experience. That's regurgitation. That's the stupid industrial era education system that we put in place to create employees. And investors don't invest in employees. Okay. Business owners, CEOs invest in their employees in different ways. Investors do not invest in employees. Investors invest in visionaries and founders and operators and people that are leaders. They don't invest in employees. If you have an employee mindset, you might as well fucking hang up the hat right now and stop raising capital. Employee mindset, and here's what I mean by an employee mindset. I want to go to work, I want to get the job done, and I want to leave the work at the job and come home and have work-life balance. There's no fucking thing. No such fucking thing. Okay. When you are an entrepreneur, when you are a business owner, when you are raising capital, no such thing as work-life balance. There is just life, and work is part of that. Okay. Because you're always working. Right. I'm drinking my coffee right here. This is my second podcast episode this morning. My kids aren't awake yet. My wife's not awake yet. This is what you fucking do when you want to be successful. And this allows me to have the life that I want later on, for the rest of my life. So I don't have to work when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. I don't have to if I don't want to. It also allows me later on today to go spend time with my kids, to go check out completely over the weekend and go spend time at my kids' baseball game, which a baseball game is in October. Like, listen, I get it. The World Series is about to happen. That's awesome. It would be really cool to see the Mariners and the Dodgers, my two teams, go there. We actually got to watch them in an interleague play a few weeks ago. It was great for the whole family. So hopefully they get a chance to go to the World Series and be a lot of fun. What I'm saying is my kid just started baseball. His season just started. And it's all these select leagues and all this sort of shit. And I know I did it when I was a kid, but at most you had to drive like 15 miles to a game in Southern California. Now we're driving all over the state. We're going out of state to go to games. It's just a fucking nightmare. It's a full-time job. I call myself, I'm an Uber driver for my kids, right? I get to shuttle their asses around and, maybe someday they'll appreciate it and respect that. I don't fucking know. Maybe they will. Once they have kids of their own, they're in 3 sports. Anyway, where was I on that? So, the speed of trust and going back to this stuff and building that resilience and the fact that if you have an employee mindset, I'm sorry, but people don't want to invest in you, right? Being able to just check out from work and go home and cut it all off. No, people don't want to invest in that. They want to invest in somebody who's going to rise and grind, as stupid as that saying is, rise and grind. It's they want to invest in people that are going to make a difference in the world and make them money along the way. And if you're an employee, you don't have the right mindset. Okay. You're like, I want to go to work and then I want to check out from work. And I want to go home. I want to punch the clock and come home. That's it. That's all I want to do. And oh, by the way, I don't want to answer calls on nights and weekends. I don't want to wake up too early. I don't want to have to worry about impeding my routine, my yoga treatment or my yoga exercises and being able to go to the gym at this time and get my spa treatments on these days. And every weekend I want to be able to go spend time with the family and off, right? That's not the life of an entrepreneur, especially somebody who has a fiduciary responsibility to their investors to do the right thing if shit goes south. Because guess what? Always goes south in business. I don't care how experienced you are, is going to happen. Elon Musk, how many rockets have they failed on, right? We've been building rockets and sending rockets up into space to the moon since the 60s, all right? 60 years now we've been doing this, yet still rockets fail. Why is that? It has nothing to do with how smart people are. It has to do with the fact that still things will go wrong. There are forces always conspiring against you to make sure that you have to suffer. I talked about this before. You have to suffer to learn the lessons. Okay. If you don't suffer, you will not learn the lessons. And then you will not build the experience, which means that you will not be able to be a good steward of other people's money in the future when you are asking them to invest in you. Okay. The fact is that you cannot have an employee mindset. The employee mindset is also like, oh, well, it's not my job. Guess what? Everything's your job. As soon as you take a dollar from an investor, everything is your responsibility. Every single thing in that business, until that investor is paid back, preferably handsomely with more money than what they gave you. Until they are fully paid back, everything's your responsibility. Okay. And if you are one of those people that is just going to say, oh, well, we put it into a corporation and the corporation failed. Sorry, see you later. Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Investor. Guess what? Investors see through that attitude right away. It's actually really easy to spot it because we just have to ask you a few questions to figure out, are you even able to run a business successfully over the long haul, right? What's the highest level of responsibility you've ever had in your life? Guess what? When somebody tells me their kids or their dogs or they had this job one time that they did it, and I don't care. I mean, unless the job was, you're the astronaut and you're going out there and you had to go, you're on Apollo 13 and you're saving everybody else, or you're, on the fucking Martian, with Mark Wahlberg, right? Or no, Matt Damon. Sorry, not Mark. Sorry, with Matt Damon. Unless you were that guy and you have that level of training and discipline and perseverance and ambition, all that sort of stuff, or you've been an executive that's done amazing things already. Guess what? All I have to do is figure out that you don't have the capability to persevere when times get hard. It's not hard to figure that out. Most people have had such easy lives. They have not had to struggle. They have not had to suffer. And because they have not had to suffer, they have not had to overcome obstacles that were completely unforeseen, right? Completely unforeseen. And that's what makes a great entrepreneur, a great business owner, a great leader, is somebody that can persevere and overcome challenges and problems that they couldn't even have possibly imagined, right? I had an employee one time call me up and, really, really nice guy, really interesting character. His name was Don. And Don calls me. I was, hey, Don, what's going on? Mind you, one of my employees, I'm in my 30s at this point. He's twice my age. He goes, well, I'm going to have to take a couple of days off of work. Oh, okay. What's going on, Don? Well, um, I won't get all graphic with you, but essentially, his wife attempted to commit suicide right in front of him with a pistol, and it didn't go well. She didn't end up dying. And Don watched this whole thing happen and went through this situation. And here I am, his boss. And it wasn't my company. I was working for another company at this point, but I'm the boss. And I'm like, oh man, like mind blown, right? Like, how do you even respond to that? That is not something they fucking train you for in HR training or going through and getting your MBA. You don't get trained for somebody to tell you that their spouse attempted to commit suicide right in front of you and you saw it happen. And oh, by the way, they didn't die, right? It's terrible enough if they die. It's absolutely terrible if they die. But the person doesn't die. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Like, just think about that for a second. Watching somebody practically bleeding out and dying right in front of you, and you have moments to hopefully save their lives and deal with this. Holy shit, how do you deal with that as the person in it? And then as the boss, how do you have the compassion, the empathy to deal with this? What do you do? Like, there's so many things. And I can almost guarantee that most business owners Most managers out there don't have like that happen in their lives. And you never, ever, ever plan for it. If you do, you're sadistic. Go away. Right. But no one plans for this. No one plans for that to happen. Like even the SEALs and the Rangers and the Delta Force, whenever they go out, what's their mantra? Bring everybody home alive. That's their goal. They know it's not likely every time, but that's their goal. And so even if it happens to them and you're in charge of the division, you're in charge of the team, and one of your guys dies, you kind of knew it was possible, but you're really hoping it didn't happen, especially on your watch. And now you got to deal with that. Okay. So these are the types of things I'm talking about. Like if you haven't gone through unexpected challenges in your life, and I'm not talking like, oh, I came in second place one year and so I worked harder and I got first place. Fucking great. Awesome. I'm glad that you have that ability. But that was something you were working on for yourself, right? If you're an athlete and you're like, I'm amazing at doing this. You come to me and you tell me, oh, yeah, by the way, my name's Tom Brady. I've got this many rings and this many Super Bowls under my belt and this many, teammates I worked with and da da da. Or you were Kobe Bryant or you were Magic Johnson back in the day, or you were, these guys that had teams. You had to rally the teams. You had to get the teams to work. Even if you were the superstar, guess what? You had to work as a team and you had to get everybody else going. That's a different level of perseverance. That is a different level of grit. That is a different level of, holy shit, I know this person is going to fucking put in the work when times get tough. If, on the other hand, you've only ever been an employee, you've never been an executive, you've never owned the business, you've never been in a senior management role where you've had tens, if not hundreds of people working for you, then it is really fucking hard for us to believe as investors that you're going to come through. Okay. You can be the best salesperson in the world. You can be the best pitch person in the world. You can be the best one at getting up there on stage and telling me how amazing you are and how amazing your technology is and how great this is and why you should invest in it. But if you're the only person in your company, guess what? Not fucking investing. If you don't know how to rally a team around you and get people to work with you, especially if you can get them to work for you for free, like guess what? That's a really huge indicator. If you get a whole bunch of really great people working for you for free because you can't pay them a salary right now, that's a pretty good indicator that you know what the you're doing as far as building a team. Now, if you build a shitty team around you, that's a different story. Okay. And we don't have time to unpack that right now. But my point is, going back to the conversation, speed of trust. In order for us as investors to trust that we can put our money with you and we have any reasonable expectation of ever getting it back, we have to understand that you are a credible person who knows what they are doing, who knows the industry inside and out. Like, I better not be able to stump you on a question of your industry. I better not. If I can stump you, then a subject matter expert, I'm not an expert in most industries, but if I can stump you on a question about your industry, that means a subject matter expert in your industry can stump you. Now, if I can stump you on questions about, well, how are you going to solve this problem that you just created by doing this? And you're like, well, we haven't gotten there yet. So we haven't figured that out. We're still working on that one. Okay, that's a reasonable answer. But if you don't know the rules, the regulations inside your industry, if you don't know that there's competitors that are already doing the same shit you're doing, which guess what, that happens a lot of fucking times. Funny story, Tesla supposedly invented radio. And at that same time, 3 or 4 other people around the world, I think they were inventing radio. I think the first one was actually in France. But, think back then, we didn't have the internet. There was no phones. People couldn't call overseas and figure this stuff out. Like, the same idea was happening around the world at the exact same time. If you think today, in this day and age, that we're so connected with everything all over the place, that you're the only one with this unique fucking idea, pound sand. Like, you're not. All right. The fact is, there's always somebody else out there trying to solve the same problem you are, maybe in a different way. And if you have not researched this and figured this shit out, I don't want to invest in you. If I can stump you on figuring, and I can just do a quick Google search, or geez, pull up, Chat GPT or Grok or something like that, and they find the competitors and they do a better competitive analysis than you've ever done, I'm out. Right? Like, go watch Shark Tank. I know it's really silly sometimes, the reasons they're out, but there is a legitimate reason behind why they are out, more so than what they're saying. And normally, I mean, Kevin O'Leary will do it. Sometimes Barbara will say it, and Cuban will say it. Like, I don't trust you. Right? That's really what they're saying a lot of the times when you're like, hey, that doesn't really seem like a good enough reason to be out. What they're really saying is, I don't trust you. I don't trust you to be able to do your job. I don't trust you with my money. I don't trust you to be successful with this company. I don't trust you to not run off when things get tough. I don't trust you. And when people trust you, when you are able to build up an amazing amount of trust by showing up and doing the work and putting in the reps and getting the job done and showing them how you've overcome things in the past. And then, of course, being good at pitching and presenting and follow up. And like every little thing you do is building that trust, right? I don't know if it was Warren Buffett or if it was, um, I can't remember his name, How to Win Friends, Dale Carnegie. Somebody said this, it takes a lifetime to build trust and a moment to wash it away, right? And the fact is that's so true. But it's harder and harder in this day and age when there's so many scammers out there. There's so many people that are completely fake, complete fraudsters. They'll do anything they can just to get your money in whatever way possible, and they'll run off with it, right? You have to try extra hard to build that trust, and you have to be able to show them that you are trustworthy. And again, I talked about this before because I know what the I'm doing, because I have spent the time and energy building up our business and working on some of our other businesses, our projects and our real estate developments and whatnot. Because we've done this, and I know because I've spent a load of time, like inordinate amount of time working on things to learn them, to know all the little nuances, to master this stuff to such a degree that you cannot stump me in certain questions. And if you ask me a question that just to try and stump me, we call those oolies in the Navy, like, ooh, wait, you're so smart. You stumped me on that, Shane. If you ask me a question just to stump me and I don't know the answer, guess what? I'm going to tell you, listen, I don't know if that's relevant or important right now, or and which you'll just set them back like, what the hell are you telling me my question's not relevant? Well, if I don't think it is, it's not, right? Um, you know, now that may be very flippant and you might not agree with me on that. You might think I'm very arrogant, but the fact is, if you ask me a question about something and I think it's completely irrelevant because you're just trying to ask me a question to stump me, I think you're a dick. And I'm going to tell you, I think your question's stupid. There is such a thing as stupid questions, by the way. Stupid people ask stupid questions. Ignorant people ask stupid questions. Dumb people ask stupid questions. There's stupid questions out there. Okay. Some of the stupid questions are the ones that you ask that you haven't even thought to research yourself first, and you're just hoping that I'm going to give you the answer. It's fucking stupid. Don't do that. Like, go figure it out first. If you still can't solve it, then you come to the expert. You don't just like ask the expert the first question that comes to your mind just because you want to ask a question. I see this all the time, all these interviews that people are filming and whatnot. And the fact is that there are really dumb questions. They're stupid questions. But because I put in all the work and all the energy and all this sort of stuff, and we ran into a deadline. We're like, hey, we need $500,000. We need $500,000 in like 3 days. And I tapped out a lot of other people. And I'm trying to get on the phone. We're trying to get my team on the phone. We're trying to talk to people. One of my buddies sees the email I send out, sends it to one of his friends, a guy that I don't know. I have a conversation with. I talk with him on Friday. We have our partner. We meet with them on Saturday. I have a call with them on Monday. We follow up. We get the money in the bank account by Tuesday. Okay, $500,000 from somebody I didn't know. That's called the speed of trust. Okay. Now, that's a small amount of money. I know people, like if you go read about the shit that was happening during the financial crisis, now granted, they weren't working with their own money, so it's a little bit different when it's your money. And that's the other thing you need to realize. Most investors, when they're putting in their money, their own money, right? Not some fund's money, not some other family office's not money, not some VC's money, not some corporation. When it's their money, that trust level needs to be so fucking high that even if they fell without a parachute off of that level of trust that you had, you have enough time to fly a fucking parachute to them and put a soft landing underneath them before they hit the ground. Like, that's the level of trust I'm talking about because it's their money. They worked for that. They earned that. So many people I see are so fucking flippant with this idea. It's like, oh, well, you already have $1 million. What's $25,000? You know how fucking long it took them to make that first $25,000? You know how long it took them in interest to build up $25,000? You have no idea what they had to do to get that money. You don't know if it's because somebody died and there was a life insurance and that's where their money came from. And every single dollar that they're about to fucking invest or put away is because their best friend, their spouse, their parent passed away and they don't give a fuck about the money. They'd rather have that person back. So you're damn right they're going to be very careful with how they spend it. It could have been the fact that they sold their first business, that they spent 20 or 30 years building. And yeah, they have $10 million and that's amazing, but they don't want to go broke ever again because they know what it was like to start from nothing and have to build a fucking business and eventually made millions of dollars. And that was amazing, but they remember all the hard work. They are going to be very fucking careful with their money. That's how investing works. You don't just like gamble it like you're at the fucking roulette table and you just got your welfare check and you're like, oh, hopefully I can make more money than the fucking welfare check was. And oh, it doesn't really matter because I'll get another one next week. No, that's not the way investors think. Investors are like, this is my fucking money. I worked my ass off for it. I spent all this time doing all this shit, right? I'm not going to fucking risk it just because you want me to. Prove to me that you're worth it. That's the kind of trust that you need to build with people. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I don't have time to talk about that right now. But the best way to do it is be authentic and have put in the fucking reps. Like, don't lie to people. Don't lie about your experience. Don't lie about your credibility. Don't lie about your past. Don't lie. Just don't even fabricate truths. Don't give little white lies. If you don't know the fucking answer, tell the truth. Or tell them, hey, I've got this other person that knows how to answer that. Let me get them on the line with you. Like, that's the best answer you can have when you don't know something, by the way. Um, it's not, I don't know, and I'll go look it up. It is, oh, actually, so and so is an expert on my team with that, and they'll be able to answer that question better than I can. Let me bring them in. That's the right answer. And if you don't have that person, well, again, you're proving to me that you don't know how to build a team that can solve the problems that we need to solve. So, speed of trust. Go back to the financial crisis. These guys were able to get billions and billions of dollars issued to them rather quickly because they all trusted, hey, if we send you this money, you're going to solve the problem, right? Of course, they just made the problem worse. They kicked the can down the road, all this sort of shit. We don't have time to talk about all that crap right now. The fact is that if you do not build up trust by putting in the reps and gaining the experience and building the wisdom, not fucking being smart. Being smart is, I know how to look up a fucking question and solve a problem. Knowledge is, oh, I can answer that question without going and looking it up. And I don't need to figure out what the answer is because I know that answer. Wisdom is taking that knowledge and knowing how to apply it. And experience is, I've already fucking used the wisdom and I learned a better way to do it. And I'm going to tell you why your idea, your way of doing things, this thing is a terrible fucking idea, right? I can't tell you how many times that happens. I mean, granted, if you have, by the way, if you haven't taken Simon Sinek's or, I don't know if it's Simon Sinek's company or not, but it's called the Y operating system survey and done that, then that's great. And the reason I'm telling you that, and I don't there's no affiliate link or whatever, just go do it. Especially if you're a capital raiser, you got to do this. The reason I'm mentioning that is when I took this last year, first time I'd taken a survey that really illuminated to me why I think the way I do. Okay. I'm a better way person. I'm always trying to find a better way to do shit. Drives a lot of people nuts. I didn't realize, I thought everybody was always looking for a better, faster, easier, simpler way to do shit. Turns out that's not the case. Most people are just going through life, trusting and believing that the shit that they're given or told to do is going to work. No, it doesn't. Like, that's experience right there. Most of the time, other people are just lazy and they're like, I just don't want to deal with this. There's always a better way to do shit, in my opinion. But I didn't realize most people don't think that way. So I found that out about myself. The other thing I found out is I like to master things. Okay. My why, what, how. What do I like to do? I like to master things. I like to master these things because as soon as I find a problem that I don't understand, I've got to go dig deep. I've got to know the answer. I don't trust people to just tell me an answer without me being able to verify it 5 different ways. Okay. And there's a lot of reasons for that, mostly due to bad experiences of just trusting people. So I have learned that I need to go figure this out myself, at least to the point where I feel confident in what you're telling me is accurate. And then I try to make sense of that stuff for other people. Okay, that's my YOS situation right there. Again, I strongly encourage you to go take this survey. And so again, going back to it, the speed of trust is built over years. And then when you need it and you can call favors in from people, it can happen almost instantaneously. Hopefully you have a couple people in your life that if something happened to you, something traumatic, something tragic, something terrible happened to you, you could pick up the phone and call them. And you would say, hey, listen, even if it's embarrassing, right? Sometimes overcoming the biggest challenges in our life is embarrassing and frustrating. And, you're always questioning yourself and what choices you made and how did you get here. But the fact is that you hopefully have a couple people like that in your life, whether it's your spouse, your best friend, a friend from college or younger, whatever. And think about what it took to earn that level of trust where they will just do the thing that you need them to do without any question, right? You know, that is the level of trust that you want to get to with your investors. And you want to get there as quickly as you possibly can. Am I saying that they're going to solve all your problems for you in life? No. But you got to remember, when they are talking about investing their own money, there is a certain level of security that they need to have that goes into this. And it doesn't matter if you're saying, oh, well, especially if you say this, if you say, there's no way we're going to lose. We're not going to lose your money. We can't lose your money. I'm out. I don't believe you. There's always a way you can lose my money, right? Now go read Porter's Five Forces, talk about all the different ways. There's this thing called government risk. Even if nothing else goes wrong, there's always the risk the government changes the fucking rules on you and takes your money away. There's all sorts of shit that can happen. So the fact is that you have to be able to build the trust. You have to be authentic. You have to have experience. You, of course, have to have the knowledge. And you need to be able to answer the questions for them in a way that makes them feel like you really do get them and your business and industry. Okay. Hope that helps. Get out there and crush it. See ya.